Hi, and welcome to The Regulated Mother. I'm your host, Afshan Tafler, nervous system resilience coach and mother of a hypersensitive, high-needs child. If you're raising a differently wired kid with PDA, autism, OCD, ADHD, or big emotional needs, this is a space for you. Here we talk about what most people don't, how it really feels, how your nervous system responds, and how to find your way back to calm, courage, and connection, even on the hardest days. You're not alone. Let's begin. So many moms I work with ask me the same question. Does this nervous system work actually help my child to regulate? We learn about attachment and co-regulation, and we know this is what our child needs. So we dive in, determined to do it right, to stay calm through the chaos. But underneath, there's a hidden, unconscious agenda we don't even realize is there. If I can regulate, my child will change. And beneath that, a deeper survival expectation. When my child is finally calm, then I'll feel safe. Then I'll be okay. That attachment to the outcome, to our child's regulation, is what fuels the agenda. It makes sense because our bodies are just trying to find safety, but that need to feel safe through our child actually keeps both of us dysregulated. So we go through the motions, trying to sound calm and do all the right things, while inside we're clamping down on the very energy that needs to move. And our kids sense it. They feel the tension and the expectation, and it all backfires. We all want to know, does this actually help our child regulate? The truth is, yes, it does. Your nervous system is your child's safest roadmap to their own. But it only works when it comes from an embodied place, when you can feel safe in yourself first, rather than trying to be calm so that they will be calm. So in this episode, we'll explore how your healing truly supports your child's regulation and why letting go of the agenda to fix or change them is what creates the change you've been longing for all along. So let's begin. So when I first started learning about the nervous system and attachment, I remember thinking, okay, this is it. This is the thing that's going to help. I knew that if I could learn how to regulate my nervous system, I could help my child feel safe and calm too. But underneath that intention was something I didn't want to admit. I had an agenda. I wanted to regulate so that he could change, so that the meltdowns would stop, so that I could finally feel like a good enough mom. And my child, he could feel that agenda instantly. I'm sure you can relate. Kids, especially highly sensitive, autistic, or PDA children, they have an incredibly tuned neuroception, which means their nervous system is constantly and subconsciously, so beneath the level of conscious awareness, are scanning for cues of safety and danger. They can feel when we're calm on the outside, but tight and braced or frustrated on the inside. They sense when our regulation is actually a survival strategy, when we're trying to control them or the moment instead of being with what's happening inside of ourselves. That's exactly what I was doing. The more I tried to regulate from the agenda of wanting him to calm down, the more I was actually suppressing my own survival responses. I wasn't regulating. I was clamping down on my activation. I had all this energy coming up, this fight or this frustration or the fear or the teetering and overwhelm that was rising in my body. And I was clamping down on that. And then I was pushing through my exhaustion, tightening my muscles and holding my breath just to get through the moment. But on the surface, I looked composed. But inside, I was screaming for space and rest and peace. Okay, so the harder I tried to be calm, the more I went into burnout. Okay, and this is so common. I see this all the time with the mothers I work with. because we know what our child needs. We learn that, okay, they need these accommodations. That's how they feel safe. They need our co-regulation all the time. Okay. And they need our connection. We study it, we read about it, we learn the tools, but no one teaches us what to do with our own survival energy when it gets triggered in the middle of our child's storm. So we do what we've always done. We clamp down even harder on it. We hold our breath and we try to stay in control. And every time we clamp down on that activation, the pressure just builds in our bodies. Okay, that suppressed energy, it doesn't go away. It gets stored in the body layer upon layer, creating chronic stress, fatigue, or resentment, or despair, or ending up exploding in rage later. So sometimes, clamping down does seem to help temporarily, right? We all do it. It's so automatic. Many of us have become experts in what I call pretend calm, okay? And it's not something we're doing on purpose. It's something our nervous system has learned to do automatically. But we pretend calm as we exhibit all the outward qualities of the ventral vagal regulation system, right? So we have the soft voice and the kind eyes and the gentle touch, and we say the right words and we sound loving and compassionate. But underneath, there's a clamp on our activation, and the body is actually tense, or the jaw is tight, or the breath is shallow. Okay. So your body is showing the cues, while up here in your head, you are recruiting the ventral vagal behaviors to go into this pretend calm mode. Okay. And this is something a lot of us have automatically learned and is unconscious. So take a moment to just notice and make it conscious. Is this what your system does? Right? Because pretend calm, like it can sometimes stabilize our child for a moment, because they sense the familiarity of our voice or gestures. Okay. But over time, it doesn't hold. Our children can read the truth beneath our behaviors, and they can feel the energy we're transmitting. And when our bodies radiate tension while our words say you're safe, it creates confusion for them. And when they sense that mismatch, it heightens their panic and uncertainty. That's why so many of us are left wondering, why isn't this working? We're doing everything we've been taught, using the calm voice, meeting their needs, offering safety cues, and yet it still feels like nothing changes. What I didn't realize at the time was that my calm wasn't real. I wasn't connected to my body. I wasn't allowing what was happening inside of me. I was performing regulation instead of embodying it. Whew, huge realization for me, okay? And underneath all that effort to stay calm was this quiet attachment to an expectation. Here's the expectation. If I can just regulate, then my child will regulate, and then I'll finally feel safe and okay. So my survival system was still in charge, holding on to the belief that my safety depended on my child being calm. Okay, it's such a tender truth because, of course, we just want everyone to feel okay. But when my body linked its sense of safety to my child's calm, okay, I was still then regulating from a place of control and not connection. Okay, I was still chasing peace instead of actually feeling it in the moment, regardless of what was happening around me. And that unconscious attachment, that hope that I'd feel safe once he did, kept both of us looping in survival. So it wasn't until I began learning how to truly be with my activation, to feel it, to move it, to allow it without shame, that things finally began to shift. True regulation wasn't about trying harder to stay calm for my son. It was about letting go of the pressure to regulate so that he would regulate, and releasing the attachment to the outcome altogether. When I could allow what was happening inside me without needing him to change, my body finally softened. And that's when I started to understand what real regulation truly means. Okay. So I remember one afternoon when this truth became crystal clear. I was lying on my beanbag, exhausted, trying to rest for a few minutes after doing stuff for hours for my son. My son was upset because he sensed my disconnection. For him, my checking out, even for a moment, felt like danger, as if the nervous system he relied on for safety had disappeared. Okay, this is so common, especially for our PDA autistic kids. So he came to me distressed, wanting me to keep talking to him. At first, I tried to respond, to meet his words with gentle reassurance, but inside I was struggling. My body was tight, my thoughts were racing, and I could feel the pull between wanting to care for him and desperately just needing some space and rest. I wasn't ignoring him. I was doing my best to stay present while noticing the tension building inside of me. So then I made a choice. I brought my attention inward and began to regulate myself, not by shutting down or tuning out, but actually by tuning in and acknowledging and allowing space for what was happening inside my body. So I was able to be with what was happening inside my body and this desperation for just some rest, right? Then I brought in safety cues. I used slow touch. I felt the grounding, felt my back on the bean bag and felt the support of it. I felt my breath, and I silently repeated my mantra. I allow this reaction inside me, and I allow the reaction my son is having. All is allowed. Okay, so I use the combination of helping my body feel safe first and then bringing in my mantra. And in that moment, something shifted. My energy softened, my body relaxed. I came back into my true self, calm, open, and present. And the most amazing thing happened. Almost instantly, he felt it. He stopped escalating. His body softened too. I heard his voice change as he began talking quietly to himself, soothing his own nervous system, and I even heard a giggle. Then, with complete genuineness, he said, "Mommy, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I love you." He moved toward me and we hugged. This wasn't people pleasing, as some people might think. It was actually regulation for him. He had returned to himself. He could feel my safety and attune to it. I told him gently that he hadn't done anything wrong, that I loved him no matter what. We had both come back to connection, but it started when I stopped trying to manage him and focused on helping myself feel safe first. Okay, so, why does this work? There's some science behind this. Our nervous systems are actually in constant dialogue through a process called neuroception, which is the subconscious scanning for cues of safety or danger. So we all have this as part of our system. And children, especially sensitive or neurodivergent children, pick up these cues faster than we can think. Okay. Safety isn't transmitted through words, it's transmitted through presence. Okay, when we're in true regulation, what polyvagal theory calls the ventral vagal state, our face tone and energy communicate. So it's our body language, right? Through our face tone, our body language, our energy, it communicates it's safe to connect when we're in this state. And when we're in survival states like fight, flight, or freeze, even if we mask it, our system radiates cues of threat. And because children's nervous systems are wired to co-regulate with ours, they mirror what we feel, not what we say. So this is why pretend calm doesn't create change. It just keeps both of our systems stuck in tension. But true regulation creates resonance, okay? Resonance, where you resonate with the other person. When you're truly regulate, the other person can resonate with you. And it invites the child's body to remember safety again through that resonance. Okay, so when I finally started doing the deeper work, so for me, the deeper work was healing this chronic extreme rage that would come up, or this extreme shutdown or collapse pattern, right? And that was rooted in my own trauma. So when I started doing the deeper work of reprocessing that trauma, something profound happened. Okay, after years of violent outbursts, my son began to calm. So the extreme rage that had filled our home started to dissolve. My husband noticed, our caregiver noticed, something in both of our systems had shifted. Okay, I don't believe it was coincidence. My son's nervous system had been so hyper attuned to mine, just as mine was hyper attuned to his, right? Goes both ways. And when I carried unprocessed fight energy from my past, he could feel it, even if I never acted on it. Okay. His own body mirrored that intensity. But when I was finally able to release that energy, to let my system discharge what had been held for years, he no longer carried the same level of activation. It was as if a pressure valve released in both of us. It was really quite amazing. So now I want to say, like, it wasn't that I became perfectly calm, right? I simply became more authentically connected, and I changed the meaning in my system of seeing my child as this threat, as this perpetrator, to seeing him as actually my sweet, innocent child. Okay. And that changed everything. That energy that changed in my system shifted what was, helped his system to change too. Okay. So that's why I believe that this deeper healing work that we do can for sure affect our children, right? But I also want to say, because at this point, some of the moms are going to start to feel bad and feel like, oh, shoot, like this is all my fault. And I've got to, now I've got to figure out how to change this, and your survival system's going to activate, right? But this isn't about blame. I want to be very clear on this. This is not about blaming mothers, okay? Sure, I blamed myself for a long time, but I learned over time that this is not about blame, right? Too many parents, especially mothers, have been told that their child's struggles are their fault. And that's not the truth. Your child's challenges are not caused by your dysregulation. Okay. Sometimes, even when we are deeply regulated, our children still struggle and cannot come out of their chaos. And sometimes they just need time to ride that wave to come out of it. Okay. And no matter how regulated we may be, and all we can do in that moment is just hold space for them, right? And know that in our system that, okay, I'm present, I'm here, and they will come out of this eventually, right? So I want to say that sometimes even when we're deeply regulated, our children still struggle because they have their own internal body cues. Like we don't know what's going on inside of their body or what's happening with their sensory system. And they have their own trauma imprints, right? And there's also like other environmental stressors that can be going on, siblings or whatever. So this work isn't about causation, okay? It's more about capacity. So when we build our own capacity to stay connected to ourselves, we create more space for co-regulation when our children need it most. So it's about expanding what's possible for both of us, not about taking responsibility for everything that happens in their nervous system. And as an aside here, I do feel like there's a bigger, plan to all of this. Like we come in and we plan to have these experiences. This is from a soul perspective. We plan to have these experiences. Our children agree, and we agree that they're going to help us to learn these life lessons. So that's another aspect of that I just put out there in case that resonates with you. So this really isn't about blame. Okay, now I also don't like to promise that when you regulate, your child will automatically regulate too, or when you become this amazing, like truly authentic, regulated person who can stay present and calm and accept and allow all that is, that then your child's problems are all going to go away, okay? Because that's not the truth either. There are many factors, like there's neurobiology, environment, sensory processing, trauma, and more. And from a soul perspective, your child has come in to learn their own life lessons. So, they're going to go through what they need to go through. And that might not mean like truly healing at maybe the pace or, the rate that you're expecting. Okay. But what I can promise you is that the more you find your way back to your true self, right? The part of you that can allow what is, the more quickly the storm passes and the more easily you both return to connection. So, on the whole, like that is a generalization that I can make from my own experience and from seeing, my clients go through it as well, that the storm does pass more quickly if you can stay truly present in your true self. And your child doesn't need perfection, right? They just need your authentic presence. And you deserve to feel that presence too, not as a strategy of pretend calm that your survival system will do, but really as a state of being. Okay. Okay. So the deeper meaning, let's just look at this. Why does this work matter so much? Okay. When I look back now, I can see that my son wasn't just asking me to help him regulate, he was asking me to come home to myself. So every meltdown, every moment of despair, every time I felt powerless, it was an invitation to heal the parts of me that had never felt safe either. Okay. And the parts that learned to overfunction, to keep the peace at all costs, to control so I wouldn't feel the chaos inside. So our children have a way of reflecting back to us the places in us that most need compassion. Okay, that was the case for me. Like our children become our mirrors, not to show us our failures, but to show us where love still needs to reach. And that's what this nervous system work really is, a return to love, to safety, to the truth of who you are underneath all of the survival strategies. It's not about fixing your child. It's about remembering that you're both on the same path, two nervous systems longing to feel safe enough to be yourselves. Okay, just take that in. Two nervous systems longing to feel safe enough to be yourselves. Okay. When we do this work, we don't just change our homes, we shift what motherhood can mean. We soften generations of conditioning that told us to override, to stay calm at any cost, to hold everything together while no one held us. We start to live from presence instead of performance. And that's what our children feel. Okay. This work changes the world quietly, one regulated nervous system at a time. So, if you've tried to stay calm but feeling like it's not working, or if you're running on fumes from holding everything together, I want to help you rebuild your regulation from the inside out. Through all of my trainings and the deep work I've done personally, I finally discovered what's truly needed to stay regulated, even in the hardest moments, and to genuinely feel okay and even happy and at peace in this life and with my child, regardless of the challenges. So I want to bring that to you. So I hope you will join me for my free live webinar. It's called the Regulation Rebuild 12 Nervous System Shifts for Moms of High Needs Kids. It's on Monday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And in this training, I'll teach you the 12 shifts that actually change your nervous system, not through control or effort, but through understanding, compassion, and body-based support. So these 12 shifts are the essential pieces that will help you move from just surviving to truly thriving, okay? Because you deserve to feel safe, calm, and confident, not just for your child, but for you too. So click the link below or in the show notes to sign up for the Regulation Rebuild webinar. Your healing matters, and when you heal, your child feels it. No words needed. Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to The Regulated Mother. If this episode helped you feel a little more seen, grounded, or hopeful, I'd love for you to share it with another mom who might need it too. And if you want more nervous system tools and support, head to my website, illuminateyou.ca, to grab my free ebook and video series. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You're doing brave and meaningful work.